Hi, I'm Pam Heller, AccuQuilt's cutting expert.
And I'm Erica, our corporate marketing specialist.
Today, quilters, we're here to show you how to make our Go Home Again wall hanging, which uses the Go Arkansas Traveler 12-inch finished block. We're both so in love with this great block and board die. It fits all of our cutters, and we're super excited to show you how to use it.
From the moment we both saw this block and this die, we knew it would be a huge hit with quilters.
Yep. To make this wall hanging, you will also need the Go Cube Mix and Match 12-inch block, which fits through the Go and the Go Big. Now, this pattern is a free downloadable pattern at AccuQuilt.com, so you might want to pause our video while you download a copy so you can follow along.
Perfect.
Now, quilters, this pattern uses 2 different blocks, but today we're going to show you how to cut and piece the block using the Go Arkansas Traveler die.
Our first tip for you is to make a test block. And we both did that.
Yep. It's always such a good idea. For this pattern, we're going to use 4 fabrics, but this would make such a great scrappy project.
Oh yeah. You'll want to follow the directions on how to prep your fabric for the die cutting, and that actually leads us to our next tip.
Yep. Quilters, you only need 5 blocks for this quick wall hanging, and you really want to pay attention to how you lay out your fabric for cutting. Now, today we're only going to make 1 block, and so we're going to cut 8 of each of the shapes, both A in red and green. So I only need, do a little math, 4 layers. Then we're going to cut 4 of shape C out of yellow and 4 of shape B and BR out of white. Now these are mirror images, quilters, so you want to make sure your fabric is facing up.
Yes.
Okay. Now for shape C, we have a super slick trick that can save you fabric. It's called the stack and flip method.
That's right.
Yep. Although you could also fan fold it if you would prefer.
Absolutely. Now again, you want to be sure to follow your fabric prep directions and pay attention to your lengthwise grain.
Always.
You're going to want that lengthwise grain to be parallel to the lengthwise blade as your die goes through the cutter.
Excellent. All right, Erica, shall we lay some fabric down?
All right, I've got it right over here for you, Pam.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay our fabric on shape C, which is the triangle that you're going to need for the center blocks. Now, I've already cut a couple, so I'm going to show you this really cool stack and flip method. All right, so we're going to just put 2 layers here.
Okay.
And then we're just going to put 2 layers here. Make sure that that fabric is facing up.
Right. And then we've got our red and our green here, and this we can fan fold, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And since we're going to sew them together, we're going to cut them together.
Okay. So you want your right sides together,
Yep.
right? Okay. And I will let you go ahead.
So basically, quilters, followed that cutting instructions, but basically what we've done is measured from here to here, added 1/4 of an inch, and just cut width of fabric.
And that's 1/4 of an inch on either side, right?
It is.
Perfect.
And I'm just going to fold back and forth, make sure my fabric's straight here. All right.
And we're just cutting 1 block, so we're going to stop at our 4 layers.
All right, so now as I fan fold, I just have 4 layers.
Perfect.
All right, now quilters, you're going to need a 6x24 cutting mat.
Which I happen to have handy.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Okay, are we ready?
Yep, I'm going to let Erica run it through the cutter. Don't worry about those little tails. There are no blades inside your cutter, so it's going to go through just beautifully. All right, and quilters, don't forget, label at your belly, lengthwise grain, so you get a nice tight cut.
Okay. And when I've got extra like this, I just like to loosely fold it off to the side, and that way it just stays out of the way, because 6 layers, and that doesn't mean that you get to put the extra up on top of the mat.
It doesn't. All right, Miss Erica, thank you. All right, so as the die has come through the cutter, static is built up. So you want to just give it a little bit of love, and then slide that mat, don't lift.
Let me get that out of the way for you.
Perfect. So now we've cut 2 of our yellow triangles.
Perfect.
And we've cut our B and our BR, which stands for B right. And then here we have all of our shape A's.
Oh,
so I'm going to give you this.
I will take that.
Perfect. And I'm just going to set this die here. I'm going to show you actually this last little tip. We talked about that stack and flip method. Can I give you those?
Yes, I will take these.
All right, so you can see where we had the fabric and we cut it, right? So here it was, the shape that we had before.
Perfect.
So we cut it like this. You ready? So we cut out shape C. So now what we're going to do is flip our whole stack of fabric.
Look at that.
And then we can just lay it right here, and it would cut the next one
It would
here.
cut the next one, and you'd have almost zero fabric waste.
Very,
because we love
very
our
little.
fabric, right?
We do. All right.
Okay, so you're going to show us how to put this together. We're going to start with some of these diamonds.
Yes.
And we put the right sides together when we cut so that they would be ready to go.
And quilters, I'm going to lay out my pieces, because what you want to make sure is that you're not sewing them together wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my red diamond.
Okay.
And my green, here's my red and my green. Now this is so easy to chain piece because we've cut off our dog ears.
Right.
Added that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, okay? So now I'm gonna lay it like this. Now the lovely Erica, would you pin those?
I might, but I think you're going to be just fine without.
Yep, and you're just gonna chain stitch. All right, so I did this one.
Okay.
And quilters, you're gonna do all of the diamonds. All right, while you're chain piecing, do them all.
Perfect. Why not?
Yeah,
And then we'll do all the pressing.
we will.
So-
There's some tips about the pressing.
Okay.
All right.
So talk to me about pressing, Pam.
So this is a typical 4-patch.
Okay.
So when you press a 4-patch, how do you press?
Oh, I love to press to the dark side so I can lock those seams together.
That's exactly what you're going to do
Okay.
here. So I'm going to take my little iron and I'm going to press to the green, which is the dark side. And that way, quilters, those little seams will just nest beautifully.
And that'll give us that perfect point right there in the center.
And I want to make sure that when I sew them together, that I'm following that pattern.
So
Okay?
this is great because it really is, don't be intimidated by it. Diamonds can be a little scary, but it
They
really
can.
is just like a 4-patch.
It is. So now since we cut off the dog ears, I know exactly where to start there. And I'm just
Perfect.
going to sew this little diamond 4-patch together. Now quilters, we're using our Christmas colors for the holidays. Oh, but just think about the scrappy
Oh, it'd be great.
blocks
Yeah.
that you could use. Maybe you do quilts of valor. It'd be beautiful in red,
Ooh,
white, and
red,
blue.
white, and blue. Be great.
Okay. All right. So now look, I made that perfect diamond block. So now I'm just going to press it to one side. It doesn't matter which side.
And we could spin that little seam too.
Go for it.
So if we can, where's my, and just go the 2 different directions. There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Yep. Now it's going to lay just so flat. Okay. Perfect.
So next we do the B and then BR.
Correct.
Which stands for right.
Right. I want to sew from the fat end to the skinny end.
Okay.
Yep. So these we would do this direction. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So we laid our fabric facing up
Perfect.
so that it's going to lay correctly.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'm going to take and line them up, and look how perfect that is, because
You know,
we've,
those specialized dog ears are going to show you just where to lay it out. So
Yep.
that is great.
yep. And if you sew from the fat end to the skinny end, it's just easier to sew and keep those pieces together.
Oh, great tip.
I don't know, is there a politically correct way of saying fat end to skinny end?
Probably not, but as long as it's not talking about my hips, I'm okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to line it up right here. Make sure those seams come together. It's beautiful. Again, I would do all of them, you know, just do a little chain
Just
piecing.
do the one side and then
Yep.
do the other side.
Now with this one, quilters, you want to press your seams open.
Right, and that's going to make sure that you get that great point that you see right down there.
Yep. So take the time and do it. Okay, don't kind of rush through it. Okay,
That's a great point. I think we do get in a hurry and rush sometimes.
I think so. Okay, and then I want to make sure this one is here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sew from the fat end to the skinny end.
Perfect.
I tell you, Erica, I've made this out of batiks. I've made them out of just solid fabrics.
Well, you could make it for any season too. Just change it up. I mean, you could
Absolutely.
You could have it for every season of the year. It's great.
Yep. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press my seams open.
Here we go.
Try really hard not to burn my fingers here. All right, so quilters, what I'm going to do is we're going to add this shape C,
Okay.
which is our yellow triangle. And I'm going to add it to both of these pieces, and then I'm going to show you how to sew half the block together.
Perfect.
Okay? Because it's not straight across.
Right.
It's a little bit wonky.
It's still quarter blocks, but they're just shaped a little differently.
It is. Okay? So again, you want to follow these instructions. So I'm going to add it here to this side.
Great.
And I'm just going to chain piece because that's what I like to do.
Because that's what she does.
It's my favorite thing.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of doing this for different seasons and different fabrics, but I'm thinking I'm going to make a scrappy one next.
I know, I like that thought of a scrappy. Okay, and then I'm just going to make sure I'm adding it to the correct side and right sides together.
Yep. And line up those dog ears,
Yes.
which is so slick because then you don't have to trim either.
right. And then you know where your 1/4 inch seam allowance
And
is.
usually when you're working with diamonds, there's a lot of trimming.
There is.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. All right, quilters, so now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press the seam open. Okay, I just want to get rid of some of that bulk that happens. So I'm just going to take my little iron. And if I'm sitting at my sewing machine, I always have my iron and my pressing mat right next to me.
I do too. Because why would we want to get up and move if we didn't have to, right?
Right? Right? Okay. So there's our first one, and then here, let's do this
And
one.
this is actually a quarter of our finished block. then.
Right, right. And again, quilters, you want to make sure you have that good 1/4 inch seam. Don't make it a scant 1/4 inch seam. And I'm going to tell you that once I press this open, I'm going to give this whole block a really good press. Okay, so that it lays flat. All right. All right, here we go. So,
Oh, there we go.
all right, so see how it doesn't make it straight across. It's kind of at an angle.
Right.
Okay, so now I'm going to put this side to this side, and it's going to just be perfect.
And we're going to line up.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
So just think how fast you could make these blocks if we were just chain piecing.
Yeah, because you don't need that many for the wall hanging.
No, just 5.
That's great.
5 blocks for the whole thing. Perfect. Okay,
Let's see.
there we go. So now you would just add the other half,
Right.
like you would here, and just sew it all together, and it makes a beautiful 12-inch block.
Perfect.
All right, so then quilters, once the top is sewn together and pressed, layer it with batting and backing and pin and baste, right?
Right.
And then when you finish it off with binding, don't forget to miter those corners.
Always.
Now, this is just a show-stopping project, and we know that many of you will find ways to use this great die.
Absolutely. Now, don't forget to download this free pattern. It's on the website at AccuQuilt.com
Right.
for the full directions
And remember, at AccuQuilt, we help you cut time
so you can quilt more.